What's up, Marvel fans? I'm Steven from the Hills Maniacs, and if you're a fan of, the Marvel Cinematic Universe like I am, then I'm sure you keep up to date with a lot of the things going on, the future projects, and that sort of stuff that Marvel Studios has planned. Obviously they got Avengers Doomsday coming up and Secret Wars and all that. And their next movie that they have slated for next year in 2026 is Spider-Man Brand New Day. And we recently got reveals of like some set photos, and I guess there were people filming some of the action sequences that are going to be going on in the streets of New York and that sort of stuff. So we've kind of been told a lot about this movie. We've been told that the plot is going to be a more grounded Spider-Man movie instead of like like we got the multiversal Spider-Man in No Way Home and just that kind of stuff. We haven't really gotten to see this grounded Spider-Man that's similar to, the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man in a long time. So that's going to kind of be a nice fresh take on the character within the MCU. But not only that, there have also been a couple other additional characters that have been revealed that are going to be in this movie as well, which include, Frank Castle, the Punisher from the Daredevil series, which I'm looking forward to, by the way. This will be the first time we see John Bernthal's Punisher character, on the big screen and everything. And then I guess also the Hulk is supposed to be in this movie, and he might fight the Hulk at some point, I guess. And I've heard that the villain for the movie is going to be Mr. Negative, who was the villain of the Spider-Man Insomniac video game that came out a few years ago. And we know that he can manipulate people and all that kind of stuff through this dark magic or whatever he has. So that's kind of just some of the characters that have been revealed so far. And with all that in mind, here are some other MCU characters that have not been confirmed to be in the movie yet, but that I think will play some sort of role, whether through a post-credit scene or a cameo or even just helping the heroes or whatever in this movie. And will be in the movie in some way, shape, or form. So first up, I think this one's not necessarily an obvious one, I guess, but I feel like if this movie is grounded and it's, just Spider-Man taking on more grounded villains and vigilantes and everything, I think it would make sense for at least, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin from the Daredevil series and the Daredevil Netflix series and all that stuff to make an appearance in this movie. And especially since that character is now the mayor of New York, at least from the Daredevil Born Again series, he became the mayor. I don't know when Brand New Day takes place in comparison to Daredevil Born Again Season 1 or even Season 2 for that matter, but I feel like either way, if he is the mayor in this case, in this movie or whatever, it would make sense for him to show up, and especially since his whole agenda is to fight against, vigilantism and these masked heroes and everything. I think in some way, whether it's popping up on a screen or something in Times Square or whatever, doing some kind of, announcement or whatever for something he's going to do as mayor or whatever, but it's really a cover-up for something else. Just something to get the attention of Spider-Man, even if it's just to set up a future confrontation between Spider-Man and Kingpin. I think that would be a lot of fun to see as well, just this version of Kingpin on the big screen for the first time. And it would also open up that whole, grounded New York City level characters and everything and bring all that together, build this kind of, street level separate world almost from the multiversal stuff that's going on in the rest of the MCU. And, on that same note, another character would be Daredevil himself, or at least Matt Murdock. I think, again, like I said, it would kind of tie all these characters together. Plus, I just think it would be cool to have Daredevil and Spider-Man in the same movie. Maybe they team up, maybe it's Frank Castle, Daredevil, and Spider-Man teaming up together, and the Hulk, I guess, which is kind of like a little makeshift Avengers team or something, kind of like what we saw in Thor Ragnarok. I think that would be kind of cool as well. I do hope that someday in the MCU they do a Daredevil and Spider-Man team-up movie or something. Even if Daredevil's in it for 5 minutes or just makes a cameo or whatever, at least reference some of the stuff that happened in the Daredevil series, because maybe that will even tie into Spider-Man Brand New Day. Whatever happens in Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, which I guess is coming out before Spider-Man Brand New Day. Another character I think is more on the lines of like maybe one of the potential criminals of the movie, and is either someone that will be maybe influenced by Mr. Negative or sort of forced into the fight or something, that teams up with another villain in this movie or something, would be Vulture, Adrian Toomes. Something interesting about this is that he's not going to remember that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, even though like he knew Peter's identity in Spider-Man Homecoming, because he learned it through his own just intuition and everything. Like he figured it out, pieced that together, that Peter was Spider-Man. And by the end of that movie, after Peter saved him, he opted to not reveal Peter's identity to anybody else. And Scorpion kind of confronted Adrian when he was in prison and said, word on the street is who the Spider is. Can you tell me who it is? And he just kind of shrugs him off and doesn't tell him to protect his identity. But now that he doesn't know who Spider-Man is, maybe you kind of get that interesting twist there where he remembers that Spider-Man stopped him or something. He doesn't remember that Spider-Man saved him. So then maybe he's willing to team up with, because I guess it's been rumored that Scorpion might be in this movie as well. So maybe Vulture agrees to team up with Scorpion and go after Spider-Man and Frank Castle and everything. Maybe they form like a mini Sinister Six almost in this movie, along with Mr. Negative and maybe some other criminals like Shocker or whoever from the first Homecoming movie, that could all like return to try and take down Spider-Man, and that crosses paths with Frank Castle and Daredevil and all of them or whatever. I think it would be a nice callback in a way almost to Homecoming, and also you get that kind of dynamic there where like Peter tries to reason with him or something, tries to get him to remember that he saved his life or something, but like he forgets that because of that spell. And Adrian Toomes not remembering that Spider-Man is Peter Parker and that he saved him and everything, could bring him into the fold as well, I feel like. And, could bring him back to his criminal ways and all that stuff. Now, I think it was said somewhere that this movie won't really have any correlation or anything to Avengers Doomsday or anything like that. Like I heard it's supposed to be its own standalone movie, so maybe these next characters that I have chosen might not necessarily be a part of this movie in a way, but I feel like a post-credit scene or something that features either the Thunderbolts or the Fantastic Four could kind of tie that back in with Doomsday and show us how this world and the interconnected universe of the MCU is still active. Because if you think about it, the Thunderbolts are now based in New York because they're the new Avengers. They're operating out of the old Avengers Tower, which is still in New York City, or Manhattan, or wherever it was in the first Avengers movie. So, like, maybe them showing up to either assist Spider-Man, or maybe they get there a little too late or something, and they come there just to see what's wrong or whatever, or what's going on in New York City, I think could kind of tie Peter into, with the rest of the MCU again and bring him back into the fold for whenever Avengers Doomsday rolls around. But also maybe, the Fantastic Four, as we saw their ship coming into the atmosphere in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, maybe they land in New York City or something, and they land somewhere nearby Spider-Man, and he goes to investigate it, because I feel like that's a little bit better than like them meeting the Thunderbolts as the first people they're gonna run into on this universe or whatever, so like meeting Spider-Man maybe would be a little bit better, and it can, like I said, tie in Spider-Man to the rest of the events of the MCU without it ruining anything that happened in the movie itself. Like, this can be a standalone movie and have a post-credit scene where it ties into Avengers Doomsday or something. Like, another example of that is like, Thor Ragnarok didn't really have much to do with the rest of the MCU. It was just Thor off on his own adventure. But then by the end, when they had the post-credit scene, it connected right into Infinity War with Thanos' ship popping up in front of them to set up what would happen at the beginning of that movie. So you can kind of do something similar here almost, and have like the Thunderbolts or the Fantastic Four show up in the post-credit scene of Spider-Man Brand New Day to lead into Avengers Doomsday, because that's the next movie that's coming out. And then this last one I feel like would be just more like a brief cameo kind of, or just maybe make for like a little bit of a laugh or something, give us a little funny moment in here or something. Like maybe since we know that like Mr. Negative has this like dark energy or something, maybe Peter gets a hold of one of the masks or something, or a weapon or something that Mr. Negative is using or his goons are using that has the magic still left over on it, and Peter brings it to, the Sanctum Sanctorum or whatever, looking for Strange or Wong or whoever to ask for help on, like, can you give me any information on this kind of magic or something. Then you can have that like little moment where like Peter doesn't remember that Wong doesn't remember who he is or something, and you can kind of have a little bit of a laugh there or something. And it would be a nice callback to Spider-Man No Way Home, where Peter went to Doctor Strange and Wong for help in that movie. So you kind of go back there again just to see Wong again, because he's like one of the funniest characters in the MCU. I think would be a lot of fun and bring a bit of comedy to this, what I assume is going to be a more serious and grounded movie. But there you go, guys. Those are my picks for some other MCU characters that I feel like will make an appearance in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who do you think will pop up in the movie that hasn't been confirmed already? Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. And keep an eye out for any other Marvel-related content that we're going to be having coming up soon on this channel, and any that we've already uploaded as well in the past. Thank you for watching the video, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.